Welcome back to Throttle Tribe. Today we're counting down 7 Harley-Davidson motorcycles that dealers are trying to dump as fast as possible. Stick around, because number 1 is so overpriced, you won't believe they actually tried to sell it. Number 7, Harley-Davidson Livewire. We're kicking things off with a bike that was supposed to be the future of Harley-Davidson, but instead, it became one of the company's biggest miscalculations ever. When Harley-Davidson first introduced the Livewire, it was meant to be a revolutionary leap forward, a high-performance electric motorcycle designed to bring a new generation of riders into the Harley family. On paper, it looked promising. A permanent magnet electric motor delivering 105 horsepower and 86 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds, a battery range of up to 146 miles in the city and 70 miles on the highway, plus high-end features like Showa suspension, cornering ABS, and a 6-axis IMU for precision handling. Harley wasn't just testing the waters with electric bikes, they were diving in head first. But there was one massive problem. Harley riders didn't want an electric motorcycle. From day one, the Livewire struggled to find buyers. When it launched, it came with a jaw-dropping price tag of $29,799, more expensive than some of Harley's top-tier touring bikes. That price alone scared off most Harley loyalists. Eventually, Harley dropped the price to around $22,000, but even with deep discounts, the bike sat untouched in showrooms. Why? Because traditional Harley riders craved the rumble of a V-twin engine, the feel of shifting gears, and the raw mechanical soul of a gas-powered motorcycle. The Livewire, by contrast, is completely silent. No signature Harley roar, no gear changes, just instant torque from a twist of the throttle. And then there's the charging issue. While the Livewire supports DC fast charging, most riders found it too inconvenient compared to simply refueling a gas bike. And with a highway range of just 70 miles, the Livewire might be fine for urban commuting, but it's a deal-breaker for long-distance riders. For dealerships, this was a nightmare. Rows of unsold Livewires piled up, and even massive price cuts couldn't move them. Harley eventually spun Livewire off into its own sub-brand in an attempt to rebrand the bike, but the damage had already been done. Now, Harley-Davidson is desperate to clear out remaining inventory, and dealerships are slashing prices just to get them off the lot. And if you thought the Livewire was a flop, wait until you see the next bike, a budget Harley that was supposed to bring in new riders but ended up missing the mark completely. Number 6. Harley-Davidson Street 500 and Street 750. Harley-Davidson has spent years trying to attract younger riders. They knew their big touring bikes and heavyweight cruisers weren't ideal for beginners, so they introduced the Street 500 and Street 750, affordable, lightweight, and perfect for city riding. Sounds like a great idea, right? Well, there was just one problem. Nobody wanted them. These bikes were designed to bring in a new wave of riders by offering an entry-level Harley experience for those not yet ready for a full-size cruiser. The Street 500 featured a 494cc engine, while the Street 750 stepped up to 749cc, both powered by Harley's liquid-cooled Revolution X engine. They were lightweight, had low seat heights, and delivered a comfortable, beginner-friendly ride. On paper, they should have been a massive success. In fact, they were even used by Harley's own riding academy to train new motorcyclists. But despite all that, the Street Series became one of the biggest flops in Harley-Davidson history. At launch, the Street 500 started around $7,695, and the Street 750 was priced at $8,499. While these prices seemed reasonable, riders quickly realized they weren't getting much value for their money. The biggest issue? Build quality. Many owners complained that the Street models felt cheap, rattling parts, misaligned panels, and budget-level finishes. Unlike Harley's premium cruisers, which are known for their rock-solid construction, the Street 500 and 750 felt like entry-level bikes in the worst way. Then there was the styling. Harley tried to give these bikes a modern, stripped-down look, but they lacked that iconic Harley-Davidson presence. Traditional Harley riders thought they looked too plain, while younger riders weren't drawn to the design either, and the competition didn't help. These bikes weren't just up against other Harleys, they were competing with entry-level models from Honda, Yamaha, and Indian, all of which offered better performance, higher quality, and lower prices. Bikes like the Honda Rebel 500 and the Yamaha Bolt quickly became favorites for new riders, while the Street Series struggled to stand out. To make things worse, dealer support for the street models was inconsistent. In some locations, dealerships prioritized their bigger, more expensive bikes, meaning potential buyers had a harder time finding parts and accessories. The result? Sales tanked. Now, Harley-Davidson has phased out the Street 500 and 750 entirely, and dealerships are desperate to sell off remaining inventory. Some are offering huge discounts just to clear out stock. And if you thought these beginner bikes were a misfire, wait until you see what Harley tried to do with. Number 5. Harley-Davidson FXDR 114. Harley-Davidson has built some of the most legendary cruisers in motorcycle history, but every once in a while they take a gamble on something radically different. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it crashes hard. The FXDR 114 was supposed to be a high-performance muscle cruiser that combined futuristic styling with Harley's trademark power, but instead, it became a bike that dealers can't get rid of fast enough. When the FXDR 114 launched, Harley marketed it as a modern power cruiser with aggressive styling, premium performance, and bold attitude. It was powered by the Milwaukee 8 114 engine, delivering 119 pound-feet of torque, making it one of the most powerful softail models at the time. It had an aluminum swing arm, a massive 240mm rear tire, and lightweight composite bodywork, all designed to give it a drag race-inspired look and feel. Harley wanted this bike to appeal to riders who wanted a muscular, high-performance cruiser with a modern edge. But there was one big problem. Nobody was buying it. The FXDR 114 was expensive right out of the gate, with a starting price of $21,349. At that price point, buyers expected a bike that could do it all: power, comfort, and versatility. Instead, they got a motorcycle that looked aggressive but didn't deliver where it mattered most. One of the biggest complaints was the riding position. Harley gave the FXDR a low-slung, stretched-out stance with forward foot controls and a flat drag-style handlebar. While that setup looked great on a showroom floor, in real-world riding it put too much strain on the back, wrists, and neck, especially on longer trips. Then came the handling issues. The FXDR was built for straight-line speed, but that massive 240mm rear tire made cornering a challenge. Riders found it heavy and sluggish in tight turns, making it impractical for city riding or twisty roads. For a bike that was supposed to be a performance machine, it didn't handle nearly as well as people expected. And then came the competition. For the same price, or even less, riders could get bikes like the Indian Scout Bobber, the Yamaha VMAX, or even Harley's own Lowrider S, all of which offered better handling, comfort, and just as much attitude. Even among Harley fans, the FXDR 114 felt like a bike trying too hard to be something it wasn't. It had the look of a modern muscle cruiser, but it lacked the refinement and practicality riders expected from a $20,000-plus machine. The result? Dealerships were stuck with them. Sales never took off. And now, with Harley discontinuing the FXDR 114, dealers are offloading them with massive discounts just to clear space. The FXDR 114 had the power and the looks, but it just didn't deliver where it mattered most. And if you thought the FXDR was a failed experiment, just wait until you see number 4, a bike that was ahead of its time but never truly found its place in Harley's lineup. Number 4, Harley-Davidson V-Rod. Some bikes are ahead of their time, but when a brand strays too far from its identity, things can get messy. That's exactly what happened with the Harley-Davidson V-Rod, a bike that had performance, power, and a unique design, but never truly found its place in the Harley lineup. Even years after production stopped, dealers are still struggling to move these bikes off the showroom floor. The V-Rod was unlike anything Harley had built before. It was designed to compete with high-performance muscle cruisers and sport bikes. It featured a liquid-cooled 60-degree Revolution V-twin engine, a design co-developed with Porsche. That engine pumped out 120 horsepower and 84 pound-feet of torque, making it one of the fastest Harleys ever built. It also had an aluminum frame, drag-style handlebars, and a massive 240mm rear tire, giving it an aggressive stance. With a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of just over 3.5 seconds, the V-Rod was no slouch. But that was exactly the problem. It didn't feel like a Harley. The V-Rod was too different for traditional Harley fans to embrace, yet still not quite sporty enough to attract performance bike riders. It ended up caught between two worlds: too modern for Harley purists, too heavy and bulky for sport bike enthusiasts. One of the biggest complaints? The engine didn't sound or feel like a Harley. The brand is known for its deep, rumbling V-twins, but the Revolution engine had a higher revving, smoother character that just didn't deliver that classic Harley soul. On top of that, the bike lacked the customization options that Harley riders love. There were fewer aftermarket parts, and modifying a V-Rod was far more expensive than customizing a Softail or touring model. Then there was the range issue. The V-Rod came with a tiny 3.7-gallon fuel tank, which meant frequent stops for gas. Not ideal for long-haul cruising. Riders looking for something touring-friendly had much better options like the Road Glide or Street Glide, which offered more comfort, better storage, and significantly more range. Competition didn't help either. For nearly $17,000, riders could get a lighter, more agile, and more versatile performance cruiser from brands like Ducati, Yamaha, or Indian. The V-Rod was fast in a straight line, but when it came to overall rideability and comfort, there were simply better choices. As a result, sales were disappointing, and after 15 years of trying to make it work, Harley finally pulled the plug in 2017. But here's the kicker. There are still V-Rods sitting in dealerships struggling to find buyers. The V-Rod was a bold experiment, no doubt, but it never truly found its place. Too modern for Harley traditionalists, not sporty enough to pull riders away from performance brands, add in a small gas tank, limited customization, and heavy competition, and it's no surprise dealerships are still trying to unload these bikes. And if you thought the V-Rod had an identity crisis, wait until you see... Number 3. Harley-Davidson Street Rod. Harley-Davidson has always been about big, loud, and powerful cruisers, but every now and then they try to step outside their comfort zone. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it completely backfires. Enter the Street Rod, a bike that was supposed to be a sportier, more aggressive version of the Street 750. Instead, it became one of the most forgettable Harleys ever made. Now, dealers are doing everything they can to get rid of them. The Street Rod was introduced as a high-performance alternative to the Street 750, aimed at younger riders looking for a blend of cruiser attitude and sport bike handling. Harley gave it a reworked version of the Revolution X engine, boosting power by 18%, making it faster and more responsive than the standard model. It also got upgraded suspension, with dual-disc front brakes, inverted forks, and gas-charged rear shocks, making it one of the better handling Harleys in its price range. The bike featured drag-style handlebars, a more aggressive seating position, and 17-inch sport-style wheels with grippy tires. On paper, it looked like a solid entry-level performance cruiser. In reality, the Street Rod was a disaster. The biggest issue? The riding position. Harley wanted to give the Street Rod a sportier stance, but they made a huge mistake. Raised foot pegs combined with a compact frame created an awkward, cramped riding position, especially for taller riders. Instead of feeling agile and fun, the bike felt restrictive and uncomfortable, especially on longer rides. Then there was the styling. It was supposed to look modern and urban, but ended up stuck in design limbo. It wasn't a true sport bike, and it didn't have the classic Harley cruiser appeal either. Traditional Harley riders found it too generic, while sport bike fans simply didn't care. And of course, the competition didn't do it any favors. For its starting price of $8,999, riders could choose from bikes like the Honda CB650R, Yamaha MT-07, or Kawasaki Z650, all of which delivered better performance, lighter weight, and more comfortable ergonomics for the same or even less money. Add to that some quality issues. Owners reported poor fit and finish, rattling parts, and a general lack of refinement, and it was clear this bike had problems. Instead of feeling like an affordable performance Harley, it felt like a budget bike trying too hard to be something it wasn't. Now Harley dealerships are stuck with leftover inventory and slashing prices just to get them off the floor. And if you thought that was bad, just wait until you see number 2, a bike that was supposed to shake up the adventure touring world, but instead stumbled right out of the gate. Number 2, Harley-Davidson Pan America. Harley-Davidson is best known for cruisers and touring bikes, not adventure motorcycles. But in 2021 they shocked the world by introducing the Pan America, a full-blown ADV bike designed to go head-to-head with legends like the BMW GS and KTM Adventure Series. It was a bold move, but here's the problem. It didn't exactly go as planned. The Pan America was a major departure from anything Harley had done before. Instead of a heavyweight cruiser, this was a high-tech, off-road-ready machine packed with features meant to compete with the best in the industry. It came with the Revolution Max 1250 engine, delivering a robust 150 horsepower and 94 lb-ft of torque, making it one of the most powerful ADV bikes on the market. Harley also introduced innovative features like adaptive ride height, which automatically lowers the seat when coming to a stop, making the bike more accessible for shorter riders. It had a 6.5-inch TFT touchscreen with built-in navigation, multiple riding modes, and all the premium tech you'd expect in a top-tier adventure bike. On paper, the Pan America looked like a surefire hit, but instead, many dealerships are now slashing prices and desperately trying to clear out leftover inventory. So, what went wrong? The biggest issue? Harley was entering a market where they had zero credibility. Adventure riders are fiercely loyal to brands like BMW, KTM, and Honda, companies that have spent decades refining off-road machines. When Harley joined the ADV game, many riders were skeptical from the jump. Would it hold up against the competition? Would Harley support the bike long-term? Then came the early reviews, and they weren't great. First-wave owners reported electronic glitches, jerky low-speed handling, and quirky suspension behavior. Some riders had issues with the touchscreen freezing or acting erratically. Others complained about the bike's weight distribution, feeling top-heavy and unstable at slower speeds. And while the adaptive ride height system was cool in theory, some found it unreliable, especially off-road. And then there's the competition. With a starting price around $17,699, the Pan America came in slightly cheaper than the BMW R1250 GS. But in the minds of many adventure riders, why take a gamble on an unproven Harley when, for a little more, you could get a GS or KTM with a long-standing reputation? The Pan America was a bold swing, and while Harley has since improved the bike significantly, its rocky start left many dealers sitting on inventory they can't seem to move. Number 1. Harley-Davidson CVO Street Glide. We've seen overpriced Harleys before, but this is the ultimate example of Harley-Davidson pushing the limits of what riders are willing to pay. The CVO Street Glide is marketed as the cream of the crop, the most luxurious high-tech touring bike Harley has ever built. But with an absolutely insane price tag, it's no surprise dealerships are struggling to sell them. Now, they're just trying to unload these showroom queens before they collect too much dust. Harley's Custom Vehicle Operations CVO lineup is supposed to represent the pinnacle of performance, comfort, and style. That means premium paint jobs, high-end components, and exclusive factory upgrades you won't find on standard models. The 2024 CVO Street Glide features a Milwaukee 8 121 VVT engine producing 115 horsepower and a massive 139 lb-ft of torque. It comes with fully adjustable suspension, a Rockford Fosgate Stage 2 sound system, and a stunning 12.3-inch full-color touchscreen running Harley's latest Skyline OS infotainment system. Sounds like a dream bike, right? But here's the kicker. It starts at a jaw-dropping $44,499 to $50,000 depending on the trim and paint. And that's exactly the issue. For around $28,000, you can get the Street Glide Special, which delivers about 90% of the CVO's performance and touring features. So why pay an extra $20,000 for a flashier paint job, a slightly bigger screen, and a few luxury upgrades? Most riders say absolutely not. Even Harley's most die-hard fans are hitting the brakes on that price. Spending that kind of money means you expect true performance gains, not just added exclusivity. Then there's the resale value. Unlike standard models, which hold their value well, CVO bikes depreciate fast. Most buyers in this segment would rather customize a Street Glide their own way than pay a premium for factory-installed extras. And with the current economy and slumping sales, dealerships are desperate. Some are offering steep discounts just to get these bikes off the floor. But even with price cuts, buyers aren't exactly lining up. The CVO Street Glide is no doubt a stunning machine, but its $50,000 price tag has made it a tough sell, even for the most loyal Harley crowd, with buyers realizing they can get a nearly identical riding experience for much less. Dealers are scrambling to offload them before they become permanent showroom decorations. And that wraps up our list of Harley-Davidson motorcycles dealerships are trying to dump as soon as possible. Do you agree with our picks? Have you seen any of these bikes collecting dust at your local dealership? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more motorcycle content, and as always, ride safe. We'll see you in the next one.